Ladies and gentlemen, today we'll be taking a moment to mourn the loss of use of many of my beloved teams in this game. Teams that, were great for the longest time, but now I rarely use anymore just with how many overpowered new teams are coming in, how many Galactic Legends we have. We have 9 Galactic Legends. This is a 5v5 Grand Arena board in Kyber 1, the highest tier. Highest league of Grand Arena. We have 11 teams on defense, 11 teams on offense. 9 of those are Galactic Legends, tons of conquest units, really hard to attain teams, new marquee teams, new legendaries. So there's all kinds of great teams that I barely ever use anymore. So that's what we're talking about today, starting with Bossk Lead Bounty Hunters. And this isn't even, the super old school version of the team I'm talking about here. This is Greef and Bando, came out in 2020. I know, 5 years ago, but it's new-ish to someone like me. Even with Zam and the Omicron and Fennec in there, I barely get to use Bossk Bounty Hunters. They are relegated to a cleanup team in GAC. I use them in territory battle on Tatooine in the Fennec mission. Other than that, I don't really use them at all, and in that mission, they can only hang with a TB enemy because Bossk heals up from all the dots on the enemy team. It's just sad. I mean, once all these teams once in a while do get a bit of a bump from a Datacron, and they make it more into the rotation for mainstream use. But even old school teams, this Bossk with Boba Fett, Dengar, and whoever else used to be, a main defensive team in TW. There used to be Bossk walls. I don't know who they used honestly back then, but yeah. So think about that. Anyway, that's our first one. And next we got Phoenix, and I'm even talking about new Phoenix with Rex because on my main account I barely use this team at all anymore. Inquisitors are a niche counter for them. But they're usually so bumped up by one Datacron or another that it's kind of iffy. So I haven't been diving into that as much. And Rex on his own is so good that he just gets slapped with a Rebel Fighter team or a Leia team or something else. He's just taken away from the Phoenix team. I'm talking about in general for the game. There is a focused Datacron for this team right now, so they will be probably used more in the near future. But they're my go-to team for the beginning game. I still recommend all new players work on them first, just to help escort you through all the game, and they're great with a couple different assault battles. But as the game stands on my main account, I rarely get the chance to use the Phoenix anymore, unless you count their ships. So, and I'm not using them in TB. TW is probably where I'd use them more often. But I don't have Harris Omicron in a GAC. They used to be, when Rex came out and they had a couple Datacrons, they used to be a good Lord Vader counter. We don't have those Datacrons anymore, and also Lord Vader's getting a buff, so who knows when there'll be a good counter for them anymore. Even on my small account, I use one of the last resorts I go to, or they're the last on my mind for GAC, and that account doesn't have too much either, so sad to use the Phoenix a lot less. Next up, we got Veers Troopers, and this is not a rank order, by the way. The last one might be the strongest team, but overall it's not usually a rank order. It's just the order I thought of them. Number 3 is Veers Imperial Troopers. This team used to be, I guess, when I started the game, playing it again in 2019, it was these 3 with Death Trooper and maybe Shore Trooper, and then as they added a few newcomers, Dark Trooper and Admiral Piet, it really got new life. Piet makes them stack their damage to infinity, really helps the Terminator chain become complete, and then Dark Trooper does tons of damage. However, in practicality, there are so many anti-Terminator teams and mechanics in the game today that I barely ever get a chance to use them. Now, just recently, they had Imperial Trooper Datacrons, and players came up with ways to use them against GL Ahsoka, for example. But in general, it was just a temporary means of keeping them relevant. Overall, they can't get out fast enough, do enough damage, and stay alive long enough to get things done in Kyber 1 anymore. And even in TB, I don't really use them. TW, I don't use them, which is sad because they're a very fun team. My favorite use for them used to be taking out Darth Revan back before Malgus was a thing, and Darth Revan was still one of the best teams in the game. This was an off-meta counter to them, and it worked really well. It was a lot of fun. So sadly, Veers is not what he used to be. On deck, we got Bad Batch, the old school standard Bad Batch now that we have a brand new Bad Batch team. But this team was just really slick. It was funny when they got released, they were pegged as a defensive team, but the way they run their order of operations and moves, it's completely wrong, especially Tech doing the wrong special first. But yeah, they used to be your go-to to take out Grievous, a bunch of different stuff that started out with buffs and was really vulnerable to getting days on them. You know, you got all the stuns, you got all the days, you got all the true damage. Just really sweet, but Grievous has really fallen off as well. So a lot of things that they were used to counter have fallen off the board. So I rarely get a chance to use them anymore. If anything, Echo was thrown in with a Queen Amidala team with Shock T or something, or just Echo and Tech are in there too. But I used to feel really bad and thinking it wasn't a good idea to break up the Bad Batch. Like there was a when you face Jabba with Kenobi in 5v5, Echo makes it a lot easier, but it used to just feel like such a bad idea, such a bad trade-off to give up your Bad Batch. But now it's like whatever. Yeah, break them up, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. On my small account, they're still a big deal, and also for the Marauder. The Marauder, best ship in the game, run by these top three here, so I don't see that ever going out of style, but sadly Standard Bad Batch has mostly gone out of style on my main account. Next up, we got Iden Versio Troopers. So there's some overlap here with the Veers Troopers lineup of shows, especially Range Trooper. But when Iden came out, it was kind of great game breaking, and we had 2 full Imperial Troopers teams we could have. Now, since then, there's been a fair bit of cannibalization within the Imperial Troopers. Like Death Trooper a lot of times goes with Imperial Remnant, which actually he's getting pushed out too, honestly, by new Imperial Remnant characters. But it was a super strong defensive team until people figured out how to beat it with Wampa well. But you know, it was easy enough to get around that and counter it. But Iden was one of those rare characters where at first you thought maybe it's fine to have her at low gear because as long as you had her Zeta, she kept coming back as long as someone else was alive. She's pretty unique in that she gets 100% turn meter at the very beginning. Not totally unique, but she's a rare breed. So she's really nice in Conquest. If you are a newer player and you don't have too many teams, she's actually really great in Conquest. But there's a reason they're forcing us to get a feat. In the current Conquest, we're forced to get her unique buff, and that's because they know people don't really want to use her anymore. Anytime they have a lot of feats for a very specific older team, it's because they know it might be harder to swing the wins with it. I have seen a couple of these on defense in Kairu 1 recently, but every time I did see them, I was like, yes, that's a team I don't have to worry about. And on offense, where I do use them in 3v3, if I see a Commander Luke Skywalker team on defense, they're a pretty good counter for it, especially the 3PO Chewie and C-3PO version. That's where you can win with them. But I never really used them in TB. TW, it's pretty much no-go because you don't even have her Omicron. And then in GAC, it's been a long time since I thought about using her outside of that CLS 3v3 counter. 5v5, it's been quite some time. So sad to see. She's a lot newer than a lot of these characters. I don't know if she was a 2022 character, I think. But yeah, not used as much. Now we're over halfway through this list, and we've gotten to a team I have mentioned a little bit already in the video, is General Grievous. So General Grievous has come in many forms. The core 4 has been this. Since we added Snap to the game. This has been the core 5, but he used to be, when I started in 2019, and he had gotten his rework recently. Droideka was in there, Newt was also popular, BB-8 was sometimes, and Watt, if you really wanted to go crazy. We'll just leave this in there, because even in this current form, with Snap having an Omicron, Grievous is something I rarely encounter, and whatever I put her on defense, I feel guilty because I'm just giving a free win basically to my opponent. I just am being too selfish with all the things I want to keep on offense. But in theory, it's a really great team. Once they reworked Grievous and introduced Gear 13 and Relics 2, his health-based damage really skyrocketed for the time. B2, constantly getting turns, dispelling all buffs. B1, constantly assisting. Magna Guard, stealth at the very beginning for everyone else, so basically a pre-taunt, and then he taunts whenever he does anything. Grievous ramps up his health, ramps up his damage, and Snap does what it does, and it made it better in Grand Arena. The main time I still use this team is in TW because of Droideka Omicron, but even that's kind of hit or miss. what value we're going to get out of it, because with all the new geodes, conquest units, it gets out of hand. Again, I mean, this is a bias of when I was coming up in the game. 2019, Darth Revan was huge, and there was like a Grievous nuke team, which wasn't this lineup, but I was just using Grievous to cycle through turns as the rest of his droids died, and he was knocking off the Sith Empire. But yeah, really cool team. Datacrons do bring them into relevance here and there, but for the most part, in Kyber 1 at least, I barely use them, and I'm not really I don't use them in territory battle either. Next, we got, this is probably the last of the clear consensus teams. There's probably a few that people might disagree with here and there, especially if they're not in Kyber 1. But this is more of a standard Jedi Knight Revan team. Like when he came out, this was the team, and for the longest time, I wanted to split my Jedi with a JML team using Jedi Luke and a bunch of other random Jedi, and then there's Galactic Republic Jedi, but this was Revan's team, Old Republic plus the Yodas. There's not really anything you can really beat with this anymore that's relevant. So this is a really out of fashion team. I mean, Revan I still use plenty, throwing him on the Jedi Master Luke team. But that's kind of like an all-star team of Jedi to be able to be viable at all anymore, just because Jedi Luke is such a weak GL. But Yoda was all the damage you needed. Yoda was my first ever Relic character. In 2019, when Relic started, I slapped some Relics on Yoda, and then I slapped some on Jolee, and then I was getting #1 Squad Arena, getting 500 crystals a day, which is how many crystals they gave in Squad Arena back then. I mean, it was a contentious, it was just scrappy. The Whales had Darth Revan and Malak, and then they got Gas, and then they got Rey and Slicker. But I was right there with Jedi Knight Revan. I was even able to beat Gas a couple times here and there when they were just getting introduced and they weren't quite up and running. So I have a special place in my heart for this team. I didn't use Hermit Yoda in that. I mean, Hermit Yoda was kind of an optional fifth. Like, people used to use General Kenobi back when there wasn't JMK. Jedi Anakin, it's kind of nice at the beginning too. Even on my small account right now, I do use Jedi Revan, but it's mainly with like, I don't know, GK and Mace, and I guess and Jedi Luke too, because I don't have JML. But yeah, Jedi Revan's still good. I still think he has a lot of value, but his old school standard team is a thing of the past. Next up, this is where I can start seeing people disagree more. It's Zorii. So Zorii is a pretty new character. I think she came out at the beginning of 2023, so a little over 2 years old now, which is crazy. But it's a strong team. And it's really good. It has a lot of potential value, but on defense, I don't fear it anymore. So it's hard for me to set it on defense. And when I do see it on defense myself, I mean, ironically enough, I did lose a match after making a stupid drop to Zorii, but it was because of Nest and a special Nest Datacron. But I'm just talking about the normal Zorii team as a whole. I don't really have much use for them anymore. And I have Rose's Omicron in addition to Zori's. There is some potential use that, you might see coming out later. I don't know if it's public knowledge yet, and I haven't got a chance to try it, but there is one big fish they might be able to cook. But in general, it's a Grand Arena only value team. Anytime I tried, even close to when it came out, when I tried to force it in TW, it's only like D tier, C tier teams I can beat. In TB, if you have Finn's Omicron, I mean, you're gonna roll over people. Like you're just gonna roll over them. But that requires a TB Omicron, which I am not really one to relish the idea of applying. And even if you did give up the Omicron, you'd still have to level up the relics a lot to be able to use them enough. Like, I don't really want this team at R80. So, but yeah, Zorii, it's a cool team. It's a team I used to fear, I used to hate, but now I barely get to use them. The penultimate team on my list, and one I'm sure will draw a lot of ire, is Maul Mandalorians, even including Imperial Super Commando and Gar Saxon. So the old teams used to be like, I guess Bo is in there to help recover health and protection. Maybe you had Armorer, probably had Django, maybe you had Bam or something. But the current team, as we use it a lot, is all Dark Side Mandalorians. But even so, I barely find any use for these. Gar and ISC on their own are sometimes used greedily to try and counter gas with just them two. But General Skywalker, yes, the team can beat them. It's not on 100%. You need to resist days, and you need to get them killed in time. But it's not amazing at banner recovery. So on offense, in GAC, it's not really something I consider most of the time. And on defense, I don't know, it's too easy to beat. I can't remember the last time I saw this on defense. The value to them for me is beating a leftover JMK. A JMK team where Cat's gone, maybe GK or Ahsoka, or maybe it's 3 people left on the JMK team. I have a lot of confidence in them to take that out. That's really good because he starts with 5 stacks against a Kenobi. But I am not using them straight up in most cases. Sometimes they could get propped up by something, a Datacron or specific stats or whatever. But I've left my Gar and ISC at Relic 3 just because there hasn't been a compelling reason for me to bring them up. And I don't think bringing them up would change things materially one way or another. Now, Maul is going to have a place outside of a Lord. A lot of times, my Maul is just with Lord Vader. That's just where he lives. But once all these dark side clones come in, maybe there's room for him to be with his own team again. Or I want to see Malicos team. But yeah, I just rarely use Maul in the lead anymore, which is sad because he's actually really fun. And the last team, the best team on this list that I can see a lot of people arguing against is Starkiller. But you can't argue with the fact that this is a list about things I rarely use anymore. So I don't know if you still use this standard team, but I don't really. And the standard team, the core 3 is Palpatine, Mara Jade, and Starkiller. 3v3, that's what you go with. And then, typically it's been Visas Morris. You can revive an old Ben for the turn meter reduction. Or you could use, any Jedi Mace has been effective sometimes, General Kenobi. And in TW, I still actually get to use this a lot because of Juhani Omicron. But if you kind of need Juhani Omicron and Mara Jade Omicron for it to be super viable, mainly we just use it on offense sometimes. But in GAC, it used to be so hard to take Starkiller away from this team and put him with a Malicos team under Seer because you're not getting use of his unique. His unique requires all these specifics, one of all these types. So if it's all Ufus, you're not getting this entire ability, and that's sad, but you still get this ability. He's still an awesome character. You still have this full Dispel, and that's really the main value I'm seeing from him now. I put him under Seer. He's just an awesome Ufu that goes on that team. The full Dispel is what helps him against some of these newer Rays. For the longest time, this has been the go-to for this team has been taking out Rey. It's a good off-meta GL counter, but nowadays Rey always either has some kind of gimmicky thing with the Datacron that is just so flexible because she just needs light side. Just any light side, she's fine. She doesn't have the word resistant in her kit once. Or really unaligned force users, just anybody. Any light side works really well with her. And now with Ezra, people throw him with her all the time. Just forget about it with this old Starkiller team against that. Even before that, you had to play it super right. You had to manage to not get so much turn meter when she had it inspired. It's just a whole lot. So Starkiller breaks off on his own. Mara Jade, Emperor Palpatine, they're left to rot for me a lot of times in Grand Arena. And it's kind of this part of this big shift away from turn meter teams because they can run the table. Just Mara Jade and Palpatine. There have been some times when I faced them in TW where I thought I'd be fine, and just those two just went on a tear, just infinite turn meter and stunning, so I just got no turns. They're really good in theory, it's just the teams now are so strong and fast and durable, and they don't care if you have so much turn meter. There's so much turn meter reactivity that goes on now, I don't know, all kinds of things. All these newer teams it's just a lot of power creep, so I rarely get a chance to use Starkiller, and you can make a viable team in TW for those middle planets, like the neutral planets, but it's just never been a team I've really had as a go-to for TV, so I don't use them TV. Like I said, I use them some in TW, but without Mara Jade Omicron, because I'm Omicron poor. I know, it's so good, but I don't have it. Without that Omicron too, it's just less value. So, Starkiller, you can be really flexible. It's just a theory crafting potential that's always open. There's always some comp that someone that hasn't been thought of before that can have value. But yeah, sadly, this old school team is not really used quite as much anymore by me. So let me know what you think. What are some teams I may have missed? Again, this is about awesome teams that I really like that I don't get to use anymore. There's tons of crappy teams that I never liked using or I never cared for at all. But yeah, I just want to know what you think. What are some of the best teams that just have really fallen off for you? So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you later.